All right. Hey there, and welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about how to detach from intrusive thoughts or racing thoughts or really just, kind of thoughts that are going on in your mind that you don't prefer to experience. And before we dive into the show, my name is Matt. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. I'm the founder of Restored Minds, and I'm also the creator of the AAA Response. If you haven't heard yet, and if you haven't registered yet, I have a 3-day intensive this week where I'm going to be live with all the members for 3 days. We're going to be diving into some of my best content, doing live Q&As, doing live hot seats, where you get to interact with me, ask me questions directly, get my real in-time feedback. And then I'm going to be creating a custom plan for each member of the workshop of really what they need to be working on at this stage of their recovery. So if that sounds in alignment with you, if that feels right to you, click the link below, head over to restoredminds.com and secure your spot because registration is almost closed. So let's go ahead and dive into this question here of how to detach from intrusive thoughts or negative thoughts. So this is something we're going to be diving into in the workshop, and I thought it would be important to kind of cover this ahead of time. So really it comes back down to this idea of consciousness. So when people are trying to stop intrusive thoughts, they're trying to stop it at a thought level, meaning they're identified with the mind. They believe they are the mind, and then they're trying to fight thoughts with thoughts. In my experience, and in every client experience I've ever worked with, that's never been an effective strategy. So people that teach things like, well, just like combat and replace the thoughts, and essentially try to suppress or push thought away, it's not effective. It creates the white bear effect, right? Like Daniel Wegner Dr. Daniel Wegner back in the 80s, did his famous white bear experiments where he said, don't think of white bears for a period of 10 minutes. And what they found is the participants, the more they tried not to think of white bears, the more they thought of them. And really it's this idea of the law of reversed effort. So when you're trying to not think about a certain thought, you're indirectly creating that thought. You're indirectly placing energy and attention on it, right? So if I told you don't think of a fire hydrant, it's like the first thing that pops in your mind. So what we need to do in order to be able to detach from the mind, you have to really understand that you are something other than the mind. Well, then the question becomes, well, what am I? And or which actually is probably a pretty appropriate question, but you might say, well, who am I then? And we're not really, and this is where this idea of consciousness comes in. So consciousness is this awareness, right? This seat of consciousness that is aware of the mind. It is aware of the body. A lot of times when someone asks and tells me, hey, well, I'm having a whole bunch of like racing intrusive thoughts right now, I can simply ask them like, well, how do you know that? You know, like, how do you know you're having that? Well, because I hear them, I notice them. Right. Okay. So who notices them? Right. And because this is the idea of subject object awareness that Michael Singer talks about in his work, The Untethered Soul, and his book Living Untethered. A lot of this work of this idea of witness consciousness is like, well, who notices the thoughts? And it's like, well, I do. And so you notice that there was a time that your mind was saying things you liked, and now it's saying things you don't like. And so, the idea that you're able to be aware of that means that there's this subject object awareness. So, for instance, like I can be aware of my coffee cup here, but because I'm aware of it, that means I can't be the coffee cup. So, the idea that you're aware of your mind in general is evidence that that's not who you are. And this is where the seat of consciousness itself is really who you are. That's really what you are, is consciousness. And when it comes to detaching from intrusive thoughts, the first thing that we need to understand is that is understand consciousness itself, and then understand how to shift and to start living from a place of consciousness as opposed to living from the mind. And this shift, we're going to be diving into it in the workshop a lot. So, again, make sure to get your seat if you want to, if this is a topic that's interesting to you, or that's valuable to you, because it's really helpful to have, again, feedback and discussion about this topic, because a lot of times you're trying to use your mind to even understand consciousness, and consciousness is more experiential than it is a concept to understand with your mind. So much like, you can sit and think about the Grand Canyon and think about, a huge canyon in the earth, right? But when you stand in front of it and experience it directly, it's just, it doesn't even, they're two totally different things. Even if you see a postcard of the Grand Canyon versus seeing it in person, it's just two totally different experiences. And so the idea of actually developing and cultivating the experience of consciousness is really more what we're talking about. And then from that place, being able to detach from the thought itself. As what a lot of people do is they try to use these techniques to get rid of thoughts. And again, that's not what we're doing. And ultimately, when it comes to the racing intrusive thoughts, what we want to be doing is actually not only becoming conscious, but then being conscious of the energy or the emotions underneath those thoughts. And what most people do that I see them get stuck is the idea of, okay, I'm going to use this technique. I'm going to try to meditate, or I'm going to, read Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now. I'm going to focus on now to try to get rid of my thoughts. And don't get me wrong, I love Eckhart Tolle's work. And I just don't think that the using of trying to be present or to meditate to get rid of thought is not really the objective. I don't believe that's what the central message of the teaching is. It's actually getting your nervous system, again, free enough, and the mind free enough of all the kind of garbage that's in there, right? All the emotions, all the trapped energy, all the suppressed emotion, all that stuff that really underlies a lot of racing thought, that allows you to feel safe to be present, to be here right now. And that's so what most people do is they're trying to use techniques to get rid of thought, where this is more about experientially learning how to detach from it, and then more importantly, actually learning how to release emotion, release the energy underneath the thought, and actually understand yourself as something other than the mind. So hope this was helpful. This is just diving into this idea of like what it means to detach from the mind and detach from negative thinking or intrusive thoughts, or automatic negative thoughts, I should say. And with that said, if that was helpful, again, I really hope you join us in the workshop this week, or in the intensive this week, because we're going to be diving into this and much more. And with all that said, please like and subscribe. Help our channel out by leaving a comment and review on iTunes and Spotify. And with all that, wish you guys a great day. Click the link below and secure your spot, and hopefully I'll see you on the workshop. Hey there. So if you enjoyed that video, we've linked up a few more videos that we think you'd find helpful as well. And if you have found this helpful, we'd really appreciate your support by liking and subscribing. And if you're looking for help and guidance, please check out restoredminds.com, as we have several options for you to get started. See you guys soon.